I don't think it's a controversial statement to say that at the start of Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, the Ranger is the weakest class in the game by a large margin. I've seen a lot of people continue that opinion even into the present, but I think the Wizards has done a good job of slowly changing the Ranger for the better over the past 8 years since 5th edition's release. Today we're going to be looking over the progress that the Ranger has made as a class over the years and analyzing how Wizards of the Coast has made improvements to an initially underwhelming class through 4 distinct phases. I'm Quinn the GM, and if you're new here and enjoy this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. It always helps a lot, and I'd love to do more videos like this in the future. So let's jump into things and examine how the Ranger has evolved over the course of 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. At least in my mind, the Player's Handbook Ranger had 2 primary problems upon its release in 2014. Its abilities were too niche, and its subclasses were underpowered. Let's tackle this one issue at a time. First, looking at the Ranger's low-level abilities. The first of these is Favored Enemy, which gives a bunch of small, flavorful bonuses when the Ranger is going against a specific type of creature, be that advantage on survival checks made to track them or learning their languages. However, this ability provides no in-combat benefits, and the benefits it does provide out of combat are incredibly niche, only covering a single type of enemy. You do gain more over time, but this makes the ability useless in most situations that will rise to the table. Furthermore, the flavor of them being a good hunter is kind of undercut by the fact that there aren't really any benefits that they get in combat while using this ability. Moving along to the other first level ability, we have Natural Explorer. This feature provides a bunch of really helpful bonuses for group travel, which I really like in terms of the flavor that I think a Ranger should have. However, it has the same issues as Favored Enemy. These bonuses are strictly limited to one type of favored terrain. You do gain more, similar to Favored Enemy, over time, and you're able to add more terrains to that, but it still lacks any sort of in-combat utility, whereas any other class in 5th edition at first level has at least something that can make them distinct in combat for some reason or another. Really, the only other class that kind of waits a little bit to get its kind of core ability is, I think, Paladin, but even that has higher level abilities, specifically at second level, that further allow it to be differentiated from Clerics and Fighter. Whereas the Ranger really doesn't have anything to differentiate itself from the Fighter or the Druid, and really just being a kind of standard middle point in between. The second issue I presented with the PHP Ranger is the underpowered nature, no pun intended, of the subclasses. The Beastmaster is, at least in my head, the most iconic version of the Ranger. Unfortunately, the Player's Handbook Beastmaster is one of the most underpowered classes in the game. I think it might be the most underpowered class in the game, but that is a matter of opinion. The companion must be of a CR 1/4 or lower, meaning that its power level falls off incredibly quickly as soon as you're above the just really beginner levels of play. Furthermore, if you want to command your companion to attack, you have to give up one of your own attacks to do so. This is huge at earlier levels where you only have one attack. And even still, at higher levels, once you have multi-attack, you're giving up half of your attack actions for a CR 1/4 creature to make a single attack. To make matters worse, if you want to command it to anything other than attacking or dodging, doing so takes your entire action. Beastmaster at this point was incredibly underpowered, and there really was nowhere for the class to go but up after this point. Luckily, improvements would soon arrive for the Ranger. In Xanathar's Guide to Everything, the subclasses presented for the Ranger provide great boosts to its power level. They don't do anything to change the actual features of the class itself. However, every subclass we find within Xanathar's Guide provides a much higher power level for the Ranger and adds a unique flavor for each that I really, really enjoy. Looking specifically at the Gloomstalker now, which happens to be my favorite out of these options, you get spells in addition to your normal Ranger ones that you just automatically know, which is nice on any class, but especially here. Some great options, greater invisibility and seeming, being great for traversal and just being stealthy in general. And Rope Trick is a great escape spell, especially on a martial character who's going to be up in the thick of action. Dread Ambusher gives you a bonus to initiative rolls equal to your wisdom modifier, which is great. And furthermore, the first turn of combat, the walking speed of the Ranger increases by 10 feet for a single turn, which is great if you want to get a jump on things early in initiative. Furthermore, you get an additional weapon attack as part of that action, which is awesome. And if that attack hits, it does an extra 1d8 damage. So overall, just a great full set of bonuses for the first round of combat, which is a great adding to the flavor of the Ranger, especially the Gloomstalker, who's kind of dark and steeped in kind of deep mystery and whatnot. The idea of being able to get a jump on combat just because you're ready for it is really cool to me. Then you also get Umbral Sight, which is quite cool. This is one of my favorite abilities in the game. At third level, you get Dark Vision to a range of 60 feet, which is super nice. If you already have Dark Vision from a race, it increases, which makes this not useless on races that already have Dark Vision. But the best part of this is that you're invisible to any creature that relies on dark vision to see you in darkness. So pretty much any monster that doesn't have like true sight or tremor sense is going to just not be able to see you in this case, which is awesome because your invisibility would not be dropped by attacking in this case. You would just constantly have advantage if something's relying on dark vision to see you. And the other abilities, which I'm not going to get into as they're a bit more complicated, and I want to keep this video at least on the more condensed side somewhat, still add to the Ranger's overall flavor of just a dark kind of explorer type deal, in addition to providing a lot higher power level than any of the options provided in the player's handbook. So this was sort of a fix to one of the two issues that I had to the Ranger initially, that being it increased level of the power of the subclasses, but did not do anything for the base class itself. But we're going to get into that with the next phase of changes. Tasha's Cauldron of Everything is where we find our so-called third phase to the Ranger, at least in my eyes. In this book, every class, save for the Artificer, gained optional class features that could be added to their base class in addition to the features that already existed. However, the Ranger got a ton of these, and they were quite unique when compared to other classes. These were features that allowed you to replace options that existed in the base Ranger with new features from Tasha's. Some of these are great in my eyes, and I think really address the problems that I had with the Ranger earlier, particularly this class itself being just underpowered, especially at low levels, and not really having anything to make it distinct. So looking at these, first off, Deft Explorer replaces the Natural Explorer feature. You get a series of benefits that are a lot more universally useful rather than the Natural Explorer favored terrains where you're just useful in one specific environment. You get Canny at first level, which gives you expertise in one skill, which I always love, and I think really adds to the flavor of Ranger being really at home with nature and really used to it and able to just do things better than other classes, which I really like. I think more classes should get off expertise, but that's another topic for another day. You can also speak, read, and write 2 additional languages of your choice, which further helps you kind of feel as if you're more of an expert in whatever field you're saying your Ranger specializes in. At 6th level, you get Roving, which is an increase to your walking speed by 5, and you also gain a swimming and climbing speed equal to walking speed, which is useful in nautical or cliff-based campaigns. And you get Tireless at 10th level, which allows you to give yourself a D8 plus Wisdom modifier, temporary hit points as an action, and number of times you clear proficiency bonus, which is quite nice. You also get your exhaustion level decreased by 1 every short rest, which is really nice, and I think it really adds the flavor of somebody who's super well-traveled being a Ranger. You also get Favored Foe, which replaces Favored Enemy, and I think it does exactly the same thing as the feature that replaced Natural Explorer. The first time you hit a creature with an attack roll, you can call in your mystical bond with nature to mark the target as your favored enemy for 1 minute or until you lose concentration as if you're concentrating on a spell. The first time you damage a creature on one of your turns that has been marked like this, you get to increase that damage by 1d4. You can do this for free a number of times you get a proficiency bonus, and this damage increases at 6th level and at 14th level to a d8 at 14th and a d6 at 6th. I did those out of order, but I'm going to roll with it. I love this, and I think it provides a great in-combat benefit for the Ranger that other classes don't get, which is exactly what I thought that they should have earlier. Furthermore, I think that it is just really nice to not have to take Hunter's Mark, as this is essentially a more convenient Hunter's Mark that doesn't take a bonus action, and that's damage increases with your level scaling as well. It does start off as a little less damage, but you can think of that as a trade-off for having to lose the bonus action casting time. But overall, I think it's a great feature, and I know that I would definitely use it if I'm doing a Ranger in my own games. Moving on to the final and most recent phase of the Ranger, we have Fizban's Treasury of Dragons, a personal favorite D&D book of mine. I love it. I think there are a lot of cool stat blocks in there. But we got 2 subclasses in there as well, one for the Monk and one for our Ranger. That being the Drake Warden. The Drake Warden is what I view to be the perfected Beastmaster that was initially in the PHB, and they've had years at this point, 8 of them, to iterate on it and figure out how exactly to make creatures like this balanced in combat. Tasha took some steps to refreshing the initial Beastmaster, albeit I don't think it went quite as far in certain areas, but that might be a video for another day. Whereas the Drake Warden both has a ton of incredibly flavorful features for your companion, in addition to it being a dragon and me being biased towards anything dragon. So going through the abilities a bit, you have the Draconic Gift at 3rd level when you take the class, which gives you Draconic as a language and a thaumaturgy cantrip. Furthermore, you get your Drake Companion. You can summon the Drake as an action in an area of your choice within 30 feet of you. It is small to start out with. It obeys your commands. It scales on a lot of features based on your proficiency bonus and your level, which is great. Particularly, its armor increases as your proficiency bonus does, starting at 16 and moving up from there. Furthermore, you can determine a draconic essence for a damage type, which you later gain resistance to. It shares your initiative count in combat, but takes its turn immediately after yours. It can move and use its reaction on its own, which is really nice, especially for attacks of opportunity. But the only action it takes on its turn is the dodge action, unless you take a bonus action on your turn to command it to take another action. This is a lot better than having to use either a whole action or give up an attack to do so. The action can be one in the stat block or some other action that gives it essentially any action that a player would be able to, this companion could do as well. If you're incapacitated, the Drake can take any action of its choice, not just dodge. That's a nice little bonus, so if you're unconscious or stunned, your Drake can still act. That's really flavorful because a pet might really want to help its owner if it was in a bad situation like that. The Drake remains until it was reduced to 0 hit points until you use the feature to summon the Drake again. So it's a magical Drake, and I think that really works around the problem of people getting really attached to their animal companions and just having them get killed off accidentally and not be able to come back. I also think it's great that you can eventually use this as a mount and ride it around once it grows to medium size, and it's the only ability in the game that gives you a mount that scales with your level. So it's something that almost the Cavalier Fighter couldn't even pull off. Later, it even gets the ability to fly, and you can ride it while it's flying. It's just overall awesome and exactly the flavor that I think the Beastmaster Ranger should have gone for initially. We're back to the my face part of the video for the end here, but thank you all for joining me very much. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed this video and want me to see more deep dives into certain classes or anything else, be sure to leave a comment. Be sure to subscribe as well, like the video, do all that normal stuff. Thank you all for joining me again, and be sure to check out stuff in the description. I'm releasing a Cleric subclass soon. It might be out by the time this video comes out. But yeah, no, thank you very much for watching, and I'll talk to you all soon.